Good morning, traders. Welcome to the live trading room. I hope you are all doing well. Right. I hope you have all gone through the Euros and Pound webinar that was done in the second session yesterday. There's some really great setups, even if it is in the long to medium term. It gives you a good idea of where we are looking at in terms of market direction. So that should be where that's where we should be looking for trade setups in that bias, because the long-term view gives us a clear direction other than the short-term view. So what I'm doing here is simply look for trades in the directions of those analyses. So obviously, if our analysis is focusing upside on a certain pair, so the trade setups will be based on that. Right, so yesterday we discussed Audi US dollar as our trade setup. I think we looked at this from yesterday. As you can see, it is already underway. Okay, so this is what happens when you take a trade. If you're a swing trader, it doesn't matter what happens, whether the session closes or anything like that. You hold on to the trade until it takes you out. Then once you are in 2% profit, 3% profit, you can decide whether you want to take your profits or let it and hold it out all the way to the target. And that is the target on Audi US dollar. Not much profit at this stage on the pair, but that is what we're looking at. We're looking for this to continue to the downside. So that is what we're looking at on Audi US dollar. Nothing has changed. Let's just look at a bigger structure here. Take this off and see this structure here. So Audi US dollar, I'm going to look on the website as well. So just have a look at this. So we are looking at these 3 waves down, 3 waves up, and 3 waves down here, and then looking for this one to resume from the blue box. We're not at the blue box yet, and we know that this trade that we're taking is against the trend. The trend is this one. This is the trend. So anything against the trend is counter trend and risky. So that's one of those risky trades. But we had confirmation for this on the daily, 4 hour and 1 hour. That's why we're looking for this to come to the downside. Look, moving a bit slow, but that is what we have currently on that pair. Let's look at the structure on the website. Have a look here. Go to members and look at Audi US dollar. Right, as I have mentioned previously, you will see that under each pair, group of pairs, there's a video here. Right, so please just ignore this for now. This is the live trading room video. What we are going to do, as I've mentioned, is this video is going to be a live analysis of the US dollar pairs, the detailed analysis, not the live trading room. The live trading room you'll still get on the same link. So that means a video that you will find here will be the second session of the webinar. So second sessions of the webinar will be posted on Euro US dollar will be posted here, and not Euro US dollar, on US dollar pairs will be posted here. So that makes it easy. So you know when you come to this pairs here, there's also a video detailing what we're expecting as a view here. So this is the charts in images form, and this is the video explaining what we are looking at on the charts. Right, so we had this Audi US dollar trade setup, and it is based on this. As you can see here, we are looking for these to come to the downside here. So there was even a possibility that we can pop up a little bit and make a bit here and make this structure here. But eventually we are looking to get into the blue box around this area and make a push to the upside. That's why we took this short-term trade here, looking for this to come down here. Okay, so if you've taken the trade, you can hold on to it, and then we'll be looking to take it down into the blue box. Right. Now, There are two other pairs that are looking very interesting when you look at the medium to long-term view, and that is pound Aussie and pound New Zealand. Let's go to pound Aussie and pound New Zealand. Let's look at pound Aussie. First, rather pound New Zealand. Let's start with pound New Zealand. Pound New Zealand. We discussed this entry yesterday. It is currently pulling back. We discussed this pair yesterday. It is currently pulling back, has already broken down here. This was the entry, and then we're looking for this to continue to the downside. Just because it's pulling back does not mean it is a reversal. But I want us to look at this pair in the long term. So I've got a modest target here, but this can go much lower. Let's go onto the website and look at this. While we are here, is there anyone else who's having an issue accessing the pound pairs? Is there anyone else who's having an issue? I know there is one of our members who's struggling to access the pound pairs. Is there anyone who cannot access the pound pairs? If there is, please let me know. Right, so this is the daily. I'm not gonna repeat what was discussed in the webinar already, but this is the structure on the daily. There's a bit of a difference. No, there's no difference. Let's go to the 4 hour. If you want to see the higher degree structure, we just go to the video. To avoid repetition, let's look at the 4 hour chart here. Now, if you look at the 4 hour chart, this is the structure on the chart. Pound New Zealand, we're looking for a reversal on the blue box. Based on this structure, there are 3 waves here to the upside, and there's a 3-wave move to the downside, and the 3-wave to the upside here. I actually have another view here, which is the same, and will have the same blue box. And my view, as you've seen previously, is this. So this is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this whole thing here as a running flat. Now, with this being a running flat, you'll see that this is actually a 3-wave move to the upside in green, WXY. Right, the only thing that's going to change here is that instead of having this green here, it's actually going to be the green W, X, and a Y. And in terms of degrees, it actually fits perfectly. Okay, but whichever count you have does not change the structure and should fit exactly like that. Okay, we're currently in the blue box, and as you can see, we are forecasting that this is going to make a move to the downside. So just remember that where we have blue boxes, those are trading areas. So we have a blue box here, so that is a selling area because the bias is to the downside. So now, this is a very interesting structure because if you look at the weekly chart, let's go to the weekly chart, which you would have seen with the webinar yesterday. Chima says ABC on pound New Zealand. No, I said WXY. Let's go back. It is not ABC, it is WXY. This is WXY in the red degree. This is WXY. I'm not sure if you're referring to something else. Are you referring to this? This is WXY. Is this the one that you're looking at? Chima? Okay. Leading diagonal on the Y. Yeah, if you're referring to ABC here, then that is the ABC here. The ABC will be in the lower degree, ABC. Then as you can see here, that's a leading diagonal in A, B, and the C, if that's what you're referring to. Is this pair possible to have an 11 string? Let's see. I don't really see an 11 string. Remember, an 11 string should have something like this. The axis must be similar in size. If you've got a view where you've got an 11 string, you can share it with us, but the axis should be similar, W, X, Y, X. So these sizes of corrections must be similar. So just share your charts there if you have an 11 string or a different view. Right, so let's continue. So that is what we're looking at. If you're looking at ABC, the ABC is only here. The bigger structure is WXY. Now we're looking at this. Now, if we are going to look for any trade setups, it's going to have to be to the downside. Now, looking at the weekly chart on this, this is actually an old one that needs to be updated. Okay, so we're still coming back up here with this corrective structure. Let's go to pound New Zealand, the latest chart here. Let's go to the weekly. Let's clear this off. Now, if you look at this, let's switch off here. I am definitely looking for a move to the downside, and that move that I'm looking at will be especially a break below this corrective structure. What is this corrective structure? It's the corrective structure that I've just shown you now with a W, X, and a Y. Looks like a flag on the weekly, but as you've seen on the 4 hour, that looks like a big corrective structure. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to get an entry. Doesn't matter whether this breaks out or not, because we're not trading the trend lines. We are only channeling so that we are able to focus our correction so we can see that this is out of the structure. So the trend line don't really mean that much. What means a lot is the sequence. Now we are looking at this to be making a move to the downside. So that is what we're going to be looking at here. That corrective structure to break to the downside. Now, look at this. If we do break to the downside, our next target is here. Check from where we are to where the target is. Or even though we're not going to trade this in one move, that is almost 1,000 pips. So that is what we're looking at. In the next coming sessions, next analysis, as long as this remains going up correctively here and coming down, yes, we may get one more move to the upside and it can make a double XYZ. But what we're looking at, as long as the indicator and the structure confirms for us that we're going to the downside, those are the trades that we're going to take to the downside until we reach this level, which we can even break, by the way, but that is what we're going to be looking at. And those are the trade setups we should be looking at on pound New Zealand. Okay, then we go to the lower degree, 4 hour. And the 4 hour, we're already coming to the downside. We're looking at this one to break lower here. On Monday, we're looking for this one to break here. Now, this is a pullback. That pullback should continue to the downside, really. Why are we expecting it to continue to the downside? Because this is well below 50. Well below 50, so any pullback here will result in this resetting at the top. So if it resets at the top, we expect continuation to the downside and so forth, just like that. Okay, obviously it does not move in a straight line. There may be some time where we will have a deeper correction, but even that will still trade to the downside until we get to that 1,000 pips at around this level. What is that level? Let's just mark it with a cursor. That's about 185. Now, trendline traders will be doing this. We'll be looking for this to break. Let's draw the trend line clearly, properly. Doing it with the rotation. That's how the trend line traders will do that. They will look for this to break. Maybe some will even look for this to come retest first before it comes to the downside. But that is a bit too late to be taking it on its here. And some will be looking for what they like to call a head and shoulder there. So we're already seeing this even before the head and shoulder and all those things that's forming and what other technical traders look at, because we have been working this cycle as it was playing out. And we've even projected that this level is the reversal area and we'll be looking for downside. Okay. So that's why wave theory makes much more sense than any other strategy for me. Right, so let's look at that, those trade setups. So every time you get a trade setup like that, either on the 4 or the 1 hour, you look to take it to the downside. It's the same thing on pound Audi. So look at pound Audi. So pound Audi, whenever you get these pullbacks, those are opportunities to short it. As long as As long as you get this, as long as this is below 50 and this resets at the top. If you look at this trade setup here, this did not confirm on the 4 hour. This trade was not on the 4 hour. You would not have taken this on the 4 hour. It was actually on the 1 hour, this one here. Okay, if you look at the 1 hour, if you look at the 1 hour, you will see that that's where the trade happened. Look at that. So this is your 1 hour. The indicators on the 4 hour did not give you a trade setup, but the 1 hour was giving you a trade setup. But the only support that the 1 hour was giving you, so when this candle closed here, this was the entry. Why was that the entry? Because this was at the top and this was below 50 at that time when this candle closed here. You see how accurate the strategy is. Pinpoints where you need to be entering. Okay, whether it's the 4 or the 1 hour. That's what is detailed on video 5. Now, there was another opportunity which we discussed, which was this. This was not a nice flag because you would have only taken the trade right at the bottom here. Okay, and then your stop loss would have been far because the flag was above here. Okay, but that would have been okay because there was another one here on the 1 hour. This is what we do when we do trade setups. You know the direction. This is your trade setup. Look at where we are and look at where the RSI is. All we are doing is look for continuation patterns to the downside. Every time that happens, we look to take it lower. So that is what we're going to keep doing until we reach the end of the move. So now we've got a pullback. This is a single wave pullback. We're not just going to short it like that. Even though it does, we will come to the downside. We're not going to take a trade because it is not confirming according to the strategy. We don't have a structure here because what could likely happen here is that we get this making another flag here. Only then will we look for it to take it around it, the break of this correction here to take it to the downside. You see the process that we go through when we're identifying trade setups. We already have the direction on the in the higher degree. That is our direction. The direction on pound Audi. You'll also see here there's this structure here. I'll show you why we've got the blue. This one has missed the blue box here. There's a slight difference between how we're looking at this. So this is W, this is X, and this is Y. So the blue box is actually here. Why am I saying the blue box is here? Let's project it. Let's project it. It looks like we have missed it if we are looking at our orthodox low to be here. Okay, if we're looking at our orthodox low to be here, then we will would have missed the blue box. Our orthodox low is actually here. All right, now if our orthodox low is there, that means we are starting with a W like this. Our W is this one here. We'll go to the live chat just now. Our W is actually here. I think today's webinar is more educational than trade setups because I'm not really seeing much of trade setups, but we know that any trade that we're going to get on this, that would be our trade setup. So this is just an elaboration on the strategy. So if you look at this as your orthodox low, you're going to get it wrong. Right, so the orthodox low is here. That is an X, and then there is a 3-wave move here. Another 3-wave move here as follows. That's a move up, a move down, and a move to the upside. There's actually nothing wrong with this view because we're looking at this with naked eyes on that. So somebody could have looked at this and got the blue box around this level, and somebody could have looked at this as an orthodox low. Specifically for this example, this was just a little bit tricky. So, but this is clear looking at it now like this in hindsight. Okay. That is what we're looking at there. So let's project it correctly here. Let's project it like that on the 4 hour and see why our blue box is there. See here, in this case, if we are looking at this as the orthodox low, let me take it off and do it again. Let's take the fib. If we check it here, up to there where the correction starts, back here, let's see here. Just want to make sure that we've got it right. So this is where the first point is. That's where the first point is. That's where the second point is. The correction starts here, correction ends here, and the correction ends there. Those are our equal legs from there. Those are our equal legs from there. You'll see that this one fits perfectly, not an inch lower, not an inch higher than the blue box, and we start the reversal. What is happening now? We're making a bounce from the trend line, or rather from the channel. A correction here will mean that this is going to break, and our target is going to be here, around 174. That's why when this one broke here, I said, look to target to the trend line and look for another entry after the trend line. And that's what we're going to be looking at here. So the more time it spends around this area, the more it's likely to break to the downside. Let's have a look at the indicators. The RSI is still below 50. This is at the bottom, doesn't mean anything. We're coming down here. There's a likelihood that this actually makes one more up. As you've seen with the Euro US dollar, they have a tendency to go and retest the blue box. So we can get this one, making one push to the upside before coming down. So let's manage that. If you're already in the trade from here, you can actually move it to break even from here. Move it to break even here so it doesn't take you out. You've seen that with the Euro US dollar, which is now playing out very well. This was the blue box, comes back into the blue box and then makes a bounce. Obviously, it's the same with the DXY. So that is typical how they behave. Let's go pound Audi again. So that's the detail on pound Audi, pound New Zealand. Euros are the same. So you'll see the euros here. If you look at the euros, you may start buying here. I'm not saying you must buy. Somebody may start buying here by looking at the euros like this. But we know that the euro long term is downside. You're looking at the to the downside on Euro New Zealand and Euro Audi. So look at yesterday's video, second session, detailed analysis. You'll see why we're looking for downside on the euros. So euro, we are looking at this structure. You see here. So if we are looking for this on the euros, why would you want to sell this? And if you're a trendline trader, this one has already even broken lower here. Has even broken lower, has retested, and then we're looking for this to continue to the downside. This is a daily chart. We're looking for this. Now, Euro New Zealand should continue to the downside. So what we're seeing now here is this corrective structure. Let's go to the daily again here. We're getting a bounce here. Whichever bounce, however deep, when that correction is done, the move should come here. The overall move should come here. But that doesn't mean that you must just come here and put a sell trade here, execute a sell trade here, because this can bounce up for about 500 pips, 600 pips while you're in the trade. Unless you're able to hold up to that much, then you can take the trade, but we don't recommend it. That's why we go into the lower time frames. We go into the lower time frames to look for the trade setup. When you look at the 4 hour, this looks like a pretty impulsive move to the upside, right? But it is simply a correction on the weekly. And what we are looking for is this correction can come up here, can play out in here for weeks. But eventually, what we're going to want to see is this coming down for many, many pips to the downside. Okay, so requires patience. Currently, we don't have trade setups because we are within this corrective structure, but we're looking for this. Pound New Zealand and Pound Audi already looking like they're doing this. This one hasn't yet, but they should be mostly correlated. Your 4 hour. So you see, when you know the direction, you know how risky it is to buy this. We're actually even looking at this to have made a 3-wave structure. Even when this was making a 3-wave structure, because the weekly is downside, we're looking for this to continue to the downside all the way. As long as the indicators confirm that, that is the structure that we're going to look at. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing here is to track this corrective structure. What could it play out as? We have got the 3 waves. The 3 waves are actually like this. No. This is the 3-wave structure here. We've got an A, B, we've got an A, B, C corrective structure. There's a possibility that this is a W, this is an X, and we're going to get another A, B, C before we drop. And that will be a WXY structure. So as much as it keeps pushing up higher, we know that the overall direction should be downside. Should be downside. Okay, so it can keep crawling up higher, but we're looking for downside. That is Euro New Zealand. So we're not interested in upside trades unless you can manage those in the short term. On the 4 hour, looks like we're going to have a bit of a push to the upside still, but not much momentum there. Euro Audi as well. Let's have a look at Euro Audi as well. Euro Audi is the same. We are looking at this corrective structure here. So when this corrective structure is done, same as Euro New Zealand, the only difference is the corrective structure. When this corrective structure is done, then we'll look for this to continue to the downside. At the moment where the correction looks like, so this is where we need to understand corrections clearly. So we've got a pulsing move to the upside. We've got 3 waves down. We've got another 3 waves to the upside here. We could be coming down here. So if we start coming down here, because our trend bias is downside, if we get a trade for downside, we're going to take them, even if we're taking them only up to this level, because this could give us a 3-3-5 corrective structure, which is ABC in this direction. When it gives us a 3-3-5 or a 3-3-3, it's fine. We know how to handle that. Then we'll look for this to bounce here before pushing lower. Those are the setups that we'll be looking at. We've gone through Euro US dollar and the DXY, right? Euro US dollar, 3 waves down, 3 waves up, 3 waves down. Looking for this. If we're going to get upside on Euro US dollar, the current move upside was not convincing. Okay, so we can even get something like this. What will that mean? W, X, Y, X, Z. Okay, so there's that possibility. So what we're going to do here on Euro US dollar, we're going to wait for this to give us a pullback. The RSI is well above 50. This is coming to retest here, so we can get a pullback here and then move to the upside. Same thing with the DXY. 1, 2, 3. We've made a move down. We're going to have to get a pullback before continuing to the downside. We have got this one resetting at the top. This is still at the bottom. So a pullback here is possible, and then continuation to the downside. That is the DXY, pound US dollar. We're still looking for pound US dollar to get to the blue box. It is going very well. Pound US dollar is going into the blue box. This one, we've got it as a block. And that is the focus onto the blue box. What is this line here in the middle of my screen? Okay, I don't know what's happening with that line with a lock here on the middle of my screen. I wonder what happened there. Anyway, pound US dollar, we're looking for this to go into the blue box at 35.44. Just 1 second, guys.
Right, let's continue. Apologies, I didn't realize that the mic was not plugged. Okay, so we're looking for downside on pound US dollar. It's interesting that pound US dollar is continuing lower with US dollar chief also continuing lower. But we've already made this impulse on US dollar chief. We should see a pullback and then continuation to the downside. US dollar CAD. We don't buy US dollar CAD. Even if it's gonna do this, do that, we'll be looking for this to come down. Very likely that this is gonna continue to the downside. There doesn't even seem to be momentum to the upside. Okay. That is a US dollar CAD. AUD US dollar, we've already gone through this one of our trade setups that we discussed. Pound yen. Pound yen has made a pullback, nothing new there. US dollar yen making a bit of a bounce, but that's a continuation pattern. We'll see what this does. This looks like a continuation pattern for further downside. No trade setup there. Euro yen, we were looking for this to break lower and give us a deeper pullback. So seems like we're not going to get a deeper pullback here, and this is going to retest their top here. We've got a pulsing move and we're getting a corrective structure, and this is at the bottom. This is about 50. Looks like we're going to push to the upside. We'll update that. That's Euro US dollar and chief. So they are still bullish, still pushing up higher, although there is what looks like some divergence here. CAD, no trade setup there, same as with the New Zealand. So no new trade setups on the yen pairs really. Right, silver and gold. Now, if you look at our forecast on the site for gold, it's as follows. We're looking at one more down here. We're looking at one more down before we push to the upside. Now, that one more down should come with the RSI dropping around here and pushing up here as well. So we can make a new low here while the RSI makes a new higher low. So let's watch out for that on gold. Not quite ready for upside yet. Not convincing. If it's going to go up, we're going to see this. And while that happens, this should remain above 50 and this should be at the bottom here. Otherwise, for now, not ready to buy gold yet for the long term. Silver, as you can see, likely to push lower. This looks like a corrective structure. Remember why we keep selling silver and why we don't support gold upside is because of this bigger structure on the commodities. So if you look at the daily, this is the daily chart. Look at the indicator on the daily. We are at the top. We remain below 50 because we're looking at this 1, 2, 3 on silver. So this looks like it's going to drop again. The target is still 22, 21.5, 22 on silver. So that's why we're not convinced that gold is going to push up higher as yet, and just as well silver as well. Platinum, we had a trade setup here. I'm on the daily here. It's already, this is quite a significant move from where we sent the trade setup from here. Is it gonna make a 1, 2, 3 and a move to the upside and then downside, giving us this decent corrective structure before we push to the upside? Let's watch these current levels. The RSI is still above 50, so platinum may still push to the upside. Okay, we've got a corrective structure here on platinum. We just need to see this one close above 50, then we'll look for continuation to the upside. Brent crude still going sideways. So what we are seeing here with Brent crude is we've got a move down here in 5. This looks like a 3. We're getting another 3. We're going to expect a bounce here. And Brent crude can do a structure like this before pushing up higher. Pound pairs, we've got these impulsive moves to the downside. Go through the pound pairs analysis from yesterday, euros and pound pairs, for more detail on this. No trade, I mean, it's just a single impulse. So we're going to only look for a trade when we start getting a pullback on the 4 hour like that. Then we'll like to take it down. Pound CAD eventually broke lower, as we've been looking at for the last week or so. This broke lower here. We actually looked for it to start pushing lower from here. Has just gone sideways since. Nothing really much to look at there. Pound Audi and Pound New Zealand we already discussed. Euro New Zealand and Euro Audi. You can look at Euro Chief as well. So Euro Chief may have changed the structure as follows: 3 waves down, 3 waves up, and we look for the another 3 waves to the downside. Audi New Zealand. Audi New Zealand, the pullback that we spoke about on the weekly outlook was this one. We continue to push lower. Now, when this happened, they keep pushing up higher to a point where you'll be frustrated. Look at this. So you must just remember what you analyzed in the beginning and why you looked at that. That will help you stick to your bias regardless of what they do to the price. So we're looking for that. So we spoke about this pullback and we thought it was just going to do 1, 2, 3. When we were here, we thought that was done. Then it should continue to the downside. But what do? They push it up higher. And what will this do to you? Look at these big green candles. You think that trade is not going to happen. But what do we wait for? This is how we trade. We are only going to trade when this closes below the candle here. And the stock and the RSI confirms that we're getting a trade as follows. Now, if you look at this, our trade was confirmed here. So that's why just because you know that it's going to continue to the downside, you don't take it based on that. You take it with all the confirmations. So first confirmation is the structure. At this point, we thought the structure was done, so we were waiting. That does not mean we sell. So we waited, and when it made this move here, we could have said, okay, maybe the trade is not going to play out. I even put in an alert here for Audi New Zealand to give us an alert when it closes below the trend line. What happens? We get that. And when that happens, we are now at the top. We are now just below 50. So what is happening here? We're getting this move. Okay, so not a convincing move in any way, but this can come and do that upside and then downside. Remember, the indicator won't tell you how far the move is going to go. That you determine with the cycle, the sequence in your analysis. Right, that is Audi New Zealand, Audi CAD. Audi CAD looks like it's a 3-wave structure here. It's going to give us this Audi Chief. No trade set up there. New Zealand Cat, there may be a trade set up for downside here. Here's another one that we were looking at to give us a three-wave structure and then a drop here. Still hasn't dropped, but this is still a three-wave structure and we can still get this move to the downside. If we get this doing that, then that is a trade setup. Or if we get a trade setup, even if we're still within the correction, you can look to take it there. But the RSI is above 50 and this is at the bottom, so you're not going to take this on the 4 hour. Let's go to, so these pairs with the chief in them, they're giving us deeper corrections. Remember, we've been talking about CAD chief, pound chief, giving us deeper corrections before resuming moves to the upside, because the bigger structures are bullish. Okay, the S&P 500, the indicators, I'm not even going to go through this. You can just go through the website. You know, we are still looking for this to continue to the upside. Every time there's a correction, we look for those to go to the upside. Look out for detailed analysis in the indices analysis. All right. So let's look at the cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin. So we've had this move to the upside on Bitcoin. We were looking for this one to give us a correction. What we were looking for was for Bitcoin to go and give us a wave 5 from there. But it has gone sideways and it looks like we may break higher. Okay, on the 4 hour, let's look at this corrective structure. We're looking now at this structure as a, let's have a look here. Correction here. Now, Bitcoin may push up higher here, but we can only confirm upside if we are above this level, because at that level, we can actually come back lower here and retest the 47s around this area before we push to the upside. That will be a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, ABC corrective structure before Bitcoin pushes up higher. Now, if you remember our structure here, we're looking at this as a 1. We're looking at this as a 2, but as you can see, it has not gone anywhere, so our 2 may actually be here. So even if we do push to the upside here, you're going to have to manage it very closely, because at this level here, very likely that this pushes lower. Okay, we still have that divergence on the daily that has been coming through from the daily. So let's see what is happening here. It's just going sideways, does not mean it's going to go all the way. It will only go all the way if we start breaking above this. Then we'll know that it's going to push up higher. Ethereum. Ethereum also convincing for a move to the upside. We are above 50, but we're not above this correction. We need to see that above the correction for us to confirm upside. So let's keep an eye on this. Litecoin. Others are looking up and Litecoin is looking down, at least structurally with this corrective structure. But the indicator is not confirming that move. We're just seeing the RSI above 50. Let's look at the 1 hour, see what we're getting. This is the 4 hour. Let's look at the 1 hour. The 1 hour it's not showing downside, it's showing upside. So this can actually be a leading diagonal here. Could actually be a leading diagonal on Litecoin where this pushes up higher, one more down, and then we look for upside. Just to take this top here. Ripple. You move to the downside, it can come and retest this low here, but this will still be that can be a continuation pattern. And at that level, that may be at about 50% of that move that happened there on Ripple. That's all for today, guys. Don't forget to look out for the blue boxes on the charts. Those are our trading areas. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great weekend. I will see you all on Sunday. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye. Dr. Ben is still on. If you're still on, your account may have been sorted. Just check and confirm. Let us know if it has been sorted. I've just got a message from IT that it has been done. Any other questions? Anyone? Cheers, guys. Please try to refresh the browser and try again. If the problem is still there, please send us a screenshot. We'll talk on the chat box. Please refresh and try again. Is it still there? Yeah, please refresh and try again and let me know. You'll let me know on the inbox. Okay, we'll get the IT to continue fixing that. Right, let me log off. It'll be definitely sorted. Okay, thank you for letting me know. I'll let them know. Cheers, guys. We're on it. Right, just keep refreshing the browser and then we'll communicate.